Hey, what's up everybody? This is Tim from Arm Wrestling Secrets, and I wanted to talk this morning about a question I get a lot, and that is when to buy your first arm wrestling table. Okay, so if you're just getting into arm wrestling, obviously, you're gonna need an arm wrestling table. Arm wrestling, a formal arm wrestling is stand up at a stand-up arm wrestling table. It's very formal, it's very exact. All the arm wrestling tables are the same at the competitions for the most part. With the pin pads and the height of the table and all of that kind of stuff. Okay, so if you don't get used to arm wrestling on an exact specified dimensional table that they use at tournaments, okay, you're going to be way out of your you're going to be way out of your depth when it comes to going into the tournament. If you're doing your practice across a cafeteria table like we did in the 7th grade, or you're just arm wrestling on a tabletop, like an actual tabletop, not an arm wrestling table, okay, that is no way to train. Your elbow's sliding all over the place. It's not the same as arm wrestling on an arm wrestling table. When you're standing, all the technique is totally different. There's a reason that it's built that way, okay, with the pegs and the pin pads and the elbow pads and all of the rules and the exact height and everything else. So if you're gonna get good at arm wrestling, you need to practice on an arm wrestling table. And just think of it this way, okay? Let's just say, okay, because you're just getting into arm wrestling, it's a new sport to you, okay? And I get this question a lot. Let's just say, okay, let's just pick a different sport. You just got into golf and you go, when should I buy golf clubs? Think about it. How are you gonna golf without any golf clubs? Okay, it doesn't mean you got to buy the nicest bag of golf clubs you can find. It just means you have to buy some golf clubs. You can buy them at the used store. You can buy them at the pawn shop. You could buy them on eBay. You could buy them online, but you have to have some clubs. Okay, let's take another sport. And you can see where I'm going with this already. Basketball. I want to play basketball. Well, and you ask me, when do you think I should buy a basketball? That's usually not a big question because it's a cheap thing and they're all over the place, but you get the point. If you wanted to play baseball, when should I buy my first mitt and glove and ball? It's like, you're not going to play day one without those things. And think of arm wrestling as kind of the same way. And here's why you're on the fence about it. There's two things, and I get it. And a lot of you guys are fairly young, and I get it. You have a ton of a tighter budget. When I was young, and I just got into arm wrestling, it was the 1900s. Okay, I won't say when. I'm just going to say that arm wrestling tables, there was no internet. There was no online. And for some of you watching this video, you probably can't imagine it, but there was no way to get a table. You had to build a table or find a guy to build you a table, or go to a carpenter to get a custom table, or write in to get a table, something like that, but it was much more of a pain. Nowadays, if you want to get a table, you can look up arm wrestling tables online, and you're going to get a lot of different places to get a table, and they're all going to be look for tournament dimensions, okay, and that's the main thing, okay. And that way you'll get the right arm wrestling table that's going to be the same one you'll be using at the tournament, and that's key to your training, okay. So coming back to the original question was when to get your arm wrestling table, okay. If you have the money to do it and you're taking arm wrestling seriously, now I get the problem, and I didn't really touch on this when I said it. I get the problem. The issues are a couple of things. One, maybe money, okay, because it's a bigger investment than a basketball or a baseball bat or something like that. I get that, okay. Two, it's a little bit more of a pain, but if you're taking the sport seriously, I mean, it's not really that much of a pain. If you really try to get an arm wrestling table, you'll get an arm wrestling table. It's not a problem. Borrow the money from your dad, spend the money on your own, do something, but you can certainly go online and find a table with no problem. But the problems are you don't know if you really want to get it. Almost like an expensive instrument, like an electric guitar that's like $2,500 and you haven't played guitar before, which would be the wrong decision. You should buy a $100 guitar, find out if you want to play, and then buy the expensive guitars. Think about maybe your arm wrestling table the same way. You can buy more expensive ones and you can buy a little bit cheaper ones, but they're not exactly all cheap. I mean, it's a fairly durable piece of hardware that they would be sending you, regardless of where you get your table. And remember, you're getting a stand-up table with table legs and everything. Don't get one of those like ones that fits on a table and you can put your arms on it and then you sit down. That is not tournament arm wrestling. It's not the way to train. So don't go cheap on your table if you decide to get it. But to answer your question, to bring this video to a close, was when to get your arm wrestling table. If you're serious about arm wrestling and you want to arm wrestle, the answer is right now. There's no time to waste. If you're really wondering what I mean, if you haven't ever even put your arms on an arm wrestling table, look for a training club that's local around there. Maybe give it a try a little bit first before you know if you want to buy it. Because one of the primary issues, like I mentioned, one of the primary problems might be you don't know if you want to do it. And I can tell you this, arm wrestling's very hard on your arms. It's also hard on your mind, because you go in there thinking, I'm going to beat everybody because I'm pretty strong in the gym, maybe, okay? And it doesn't really work out that way if you go in with a lot of seasoned arm wrestlers. So if you go into an arm wrestling club where everyone's been arm wrestling, especially at competitions for a while, it's kind of a humbling experience, just like going into jiu-jitsu for the first time, something like that. But it's important. So if what's keeping you from getting an arm wrestling table is the fact that you've never done it before, then go do it. Okay? And if your excuse is, yeah, but there's no training clubs in my town, then maybe go to the next town over and try it, or go find a tournament and actually try putting your arms on the table a little bit. I don't suggest going to a tournament to get your body on an arm wrestling table for the first time. I am not suggesting that. I'm just joking. Okay, I'm just saying, if you really are serious about the sport, you'll get a table. You'll find a table, you'll get your arms on it. So make sure, get a little experience on the table, maybe do a little arm wrestling at a training club if you can find one, or a training team. And it doesn't need to be a big club or a big famous club. It can be a really small group of people, but it should be on a formal table and an organized, at least an organized dimension tournament type table. So you can know what you're getting into, see how your body's gonna feel, give it a try. And if you decide you don't want to do it, then you save some money. If you decide you do want to do it, then don't waste any more time. If you want to get into serious arm wrestling, you need to have a table, and you need to start getting comfortable on it right now. Just like a guitar player would need if he was getting into guitar or anything else. So don't hesitate, go get your table.